Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 256 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Today is the first interview I'm going to be releasing that I did recently at SEMA. Just got back tail end of last week. Had a blast, was there for a few days, rolled around the whole time with Darren Priest of Auto Fetish Detail. So you will hear him chiming in on this episode as well. This episode, I sat down inside the Buff and Shine Performance Products. Wow, messed that up. Buff and Shine Performance Products. Sat down in their booth with Justin Labato. He's a detailer out of Florida and also a brand rep for Buff and Shine. And we talk about his journey into detailing. Now, he's young in the detail game. He only started back in 2014, so he's just a couple years into the game, but he's done quite a number of things in that short amount of time. So for those of you out there that are listening or looking to transfer into detailing full-time, I think you can glean a lot out of Justin's journey. And if you're not looking at getting into detailing full-time at all, there's still some really cool things that he's done within his journey that I think you guys could do, even if you never intended to make detailing your full-time thing. He has some really good insight, and just the way that he carries himself in general is really inspiring, if nothing else. It almost seemed like the way he was talking was scripted, but yet sitting there at the table with him, it was very obvious that it was not scripted, yet speaking from the heart. And he's a really dynamic speaker, great guy. So I hope you guys get a lot out of this first episode release from SEMA 2016. And of course, I want to thank today's sponsor of the show, who is just continuing to power the podcast. And that is the Better Software Company, who created a platform they call B Pro. And B Pro has everything you need to run your auto detailing business. It is seriously the easiest all-in-one solution, and that's what I love about it. And when people have questions and they say, well, I could do it all these different ways, and I say, yeah, but if you have an all-in-one platform, one place that you can go to keep track of all your customers, all their sales history, all their reminders and all that, that is way easier than having 10 different things that you've kind of stitched together. And one of my favorite, I know I say that almost every week, but one of the favorite things that I'm liking right now is the vehicle checkout form. I think it's imperative that every detailer has a vehicle checklist form, so you can kind of cover your butt in the case that a customer may come back and accuse you of something that you didn't do, or vice versa. It's just a good thing to have. So what I like about it in the B Pro software is that it's fully searchable, and it's that vehicle checklist is attached to the customer, attached to the date, the detail they got done, all that. So all the facts are with that customer in one easy-to-use platform, as I said, and they'll customize the vehicle checklist form for you. They'll make it totally branded to your company, so it looks totally legit, and you can also hand those out to your customers each time you do detail the cars, so that you guys are both on the same page. You can check them out at thebettersoftwarecompany.com. That's thebettersoftwarecompany.com. Tell them Jimbo sent you, and they're going to give you a couple freebies. Just got to make sure you throw out my name there, and I hope you'll check it out. So without further ado, my conversation with Darren Priest of Auto Fetish Detail and Justin Labato. Hope you guys enjoy.
Potato chips.
All right, we are here at the... Ooh, that picks up noise pretty good. We are here at the Buff and Shine booth with Justin Labato and Darren Priest.
Yo!
Who I've been spending a lot of time with. And Julio overlooking us.
Julio G in the house?
Julio G in the house. We're sitting down at the Buff and Shine booth, which sitting down is pretty nice.
Oh my gosh. My feet are screaming.
Yeah. So anyway, Justin, you're the showcase here today, and Darren's going to chime in where he sees fit. But before we get into what your role with Buff and Shine is, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, kind of a quick rundown on how I got into the detail market. basically, I 2008 was laid off working a wood mill shop, and it was something that I kind of soaked up for about a month, and then I got real antsy and took my car to one of the local car audio places that I was already familiar with because I worked there, and one of the installers knew some things about detailing because I didn't know nothing. Absolutely complete virgin to detailing for the most part. And pulled my car out there, and he helped me out, and I was like, wow, I really dig this. I like the transition. And I didn't mind the sweating. I come from a boxing background, so the sweating part is not a big deal at all. And I went and made a list of some of the local guys that had reputations, and I based that list off that car audio shop because they had the longest standing shop in town, so I knew that they would know who for the most part. The last guy on the list, he ended up being the most intimidating because he had the best reputation. Well, he's the one that gave me a job. Gave me a job June 1st. January 1st, I owned his business. 6 months. Ever since then, I haven't looked back. I had some great mentors in the local market, both the gentleman who, of course, had the audio business-wise mindset, helped me out a lot, and then I had another gentleman who owned a car wash and did detailing that kind of helped me structure my pricing so I wasn't shooting myself in the foot for doing everything for nothing.
Right.
And of course doing wholesale work, learning from that, and first 2 years were nice having that. Some of my local vendors, the box truck guys, helped me out as well. Their knowledge from the market of going around and speaking with other details helped. And then the biggest thing that took off for me is, I did well, I structured well, and I was great with that. And then I ended up at Mobile Tech in 2014, my first expo-based show.
Because you're based out of Florida, right?
Based out of Florida, Melbourne, Florida, Central Florida, and I have a shop. I'm a fixed location. I even went and tried the mobile route to do expansion, but unfortunately my market is well saturated, and again, with the mobile guys, they're at each other's throat.
So you never were mobile. You literally started at that guy's shop. 6 months later, you owned the shop.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Got
And
it.
then I moved the shop actually within 2 months of owning it to that car audio place.
Oh,
because
really?
They had a bay that they used to do window tint out of that was about 1,800 square feet. But they moved that up into the main part of the building, and that opened up.
Why did, after 6 months, why did this previous owner want to get rid of the shop? How did you end up owning it? What's
He
the
had it for
background
4
there?
years. We developed a great relationship during the period of time that we were working. During that 2008 time, Florida got hit with quite a few hurricanes back to back. So we were able to capitalize on that because everybody's car got flooded out or damaged or whatever the case may be. So they needed some love and TLC on them. And we got really busy. So we spent a lot of time together. And the point of when he ended up walking out was because he had an opportunity with his uncle to run his uncle's business, which is a water conditioning company that was very large, about 20, 30 minutes south of where we were in the same county.
Right.
So he took on that opportunity, and that's how my opportunity fell on my lap. For the
Nice.
most part. Yeah. But no, as far as going back to getting to Mobile Tech, I watched a lot of guys on the internet, as we all did coming up. And I met Mike Phillips there.
Because the internet wasn't invented.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm just that old. So, yes. Thank you,
Well, I did
Jimbo.
see you with a flip phone earlier, so I'm just kind of concerned.
Oh, yeah. You saw that part, huh? Jeez. See, this
It is a flip
iPhone.
phone.
Oh, no, this is just a prop. I don't know how to use it. It's my flip phone in my back pocket that I actually rely on.
Well, we're at the right place for that, so we'll get you upgraded.
Thank you.
I heard they had new things here at SEMA. So, meeting Mike Phillips, Rennie Doyle, people in the industry, and when I approached Rennie, on the other hand, he was he was in his booth with a big backdrop of Air Force One, and we hit it off not in regards to training. It had nothing to do with that. It was just, that's that guy. And then meeting him and talking, and we hit it off.
And you knew of him from just your internet research?
And I'll tell you what, I did a right and a wrong thing. I wanted to build my craft, so I watched a lot of videos on how to, and then applying it. And then once I got confident in doing it at the shop here and there as testing, I then applied it as a service because I wanted to make sure I was confident to back that service and knowing what I was doing. Well, with a lot of those videos were obviously most of them were from Mike Phillips at the time, and then whatever else I could get off YouTube in my downtime to be proactive when the shop was slow.
Right.
And I seen a lot of Rennie stuff, but Rennie stuff would talk business. But during the time, I wasn't interested so much. I felt I had that already grasped in a way.
Right.
Well, kind of shot myself in the foot, but I didn't because everything happens for a reason. Everything makes its way around. There's a hold and a wait for everything, and there's a reason behind it. Well, linking with him, 8 months later, I ended up on Air Force One myself.
Oh, yeah.
And then ever since then, it's just been all the way up.
So what was it about Rennie that intrigued you enough to go across the country to get training with him?
Well, just the level of experience that I knew in talking to him that he had brought to the table, and knowing his background, and seeing how much value he had in the market and how much value his training had over every other training that I had looked at. There's a lot of good guys in the market. There's a lot of good trainers in the market. The way I look at it is, and it's going to be a weird way of looking at it, but it's like when you want to go learn Kung Fu. You could go to the monastery with all the monks and train with all of them and learn bits and pieces here and there, or you could bust your butt to go up that mountain, and it's going to be a lot of sweat, tears, and blood to get up that mountain, but once you get up there, you're going to the Grand Master. Right. Once you learn from that Grand Master, guess what? When you go back downhill, you can take out all those other guys because you learned directly from the source. You weren't pedaling around, getting little bits in here, bits in there, and basic foundation. You were getting it all in, and you put your self-worth into it to get all in. And now getting that and also working it afterwards is what a big deal is, because you could go and get a master's degree, but if you never do anything with it, what the heck was the purpose of spending all those years getting that master's degree?
Yeah, I kind of call that the two-dimensional world, where it's like you learn, almost like a flow chart. It's like, well, this is what you need to learn. This is how it works. It's like, okay, but now you actually have to go out into the real world, called the three-dimensional world, and now apply that.
Yes.
And in the process of applying that two-dimensional information or knowledge, often there's a big gap. You're like, whoa, it made so much sense in the classroom, or it made so much sense on that flow chart, and now when you're behind the buffer or dealing with a customer or fill in the blank, you're like, oh wait, this part wasn't in the flow chart.
Yeah.
How does this fit in? What do I do now? And so that's kind of the more at a level, it's the tangible part, but it's also the intangible parts of the business and being successful and not only staying business, but actually growing and developing a thriving business.
Yeah, and the real world experience of everything. And that's another thing I liked about, his training versus other ones. Other ones had product dedication, where you got to use this product this way with this machine, as to where he's completely open-minded. Of course,
Has that changed now?
As far as being open-minded?
As far as flexibility.
The flexibility with his own product line. And I'm not, this isn't not a diss at all.
Here's the thing, at the end of the day, we're all in this to make money and also make people happy at the same time. But if we're not in it for that, it's just a hobby, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? I like the hobby part. I like that. I mean, that's what it's turned into. It went from a passion to, from a craft to a passion to a lifestyle now. And to where that lifestyle is the money's following that, because you're making the relationships more than the transactions.
What's nice is, I don't know if you've noticed it, maybe it's a theme today, but I've heard that a lot more versus the past, where I haven't heard it as much as far as making money. And there's so many of these hobbyists out there that want to chime in with all their opinions and all that. It's like, are you even making money at that? And I'm starting to hear a lot more now that guys are more business focused, business minded, want to make money doing that, and that's refreshing to hear, because that's at least the lens that I view a lot of this stuff from.
Yeah, and there's a whole category that we could go on about that we've spoke before. But another thing, touching base back on what intrigued me in regards to his training was, plus him. I have an Italian background, so the whole detail mafia thing truly just intrigued me. So it's
you could instantly embrace that.
Yeah. So to me, being able to relate to that and have that kind of already flowing through my blood in a way, it's one of those things that I completely was just all for. And then just
it's almost
building,
like karmic. Like, wow, this is meant to be.
Yeah, and just seeing everything, how the market was, I just felt the true value in his training was well worth it. But that allowed me to get the value I needed for myself and my brand as my name, and move forward with the things that I wanted to do within the market, with having other opportunities, which have led me into being part of the Mother's Polish team for the Barrett-Jackson shows, working SEMA, being on Competition Ready, at SEMA Live for the first episode, and of course for the last episode at Auto Geek, doing 2 Air Force Ones, and then just this year doing...
Do you guys get paid to go do that? Or is that...
No, actually we raise sponsorship money. So we take local businesses and we reach out to them to see if they want to help in the aspect of the preservation of the Air Force One, because that being at the Museum of Flight, that basically is... When they retired that one, it has the original finish on it, and it's the only one at this point that I'm aware of that still has the original finish once it was retired. And it's also the only one that is been the longest running one that was in office from the Eisenhower administration to the Clinton administration. So it has a lot of value, and it's at the Museum of Flight. It's the second largest aviation museum in the U.S., but it's the second largest to the Smithsonian too.
Okay. Where is that? Does that look familiar at all?
Yes.
Like, do you know who that individual is?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But unfortunately, as we're talking, the other people on the other side wouldn't know either.
So
we'll get back to that.
But that's a good segue. So how did Buff and Shine either approach you, or is this a kind of one of those things that was meant to be, and it goes back to you get training at Rennie, and then you go detail Air Force One. Buff and Shine's a sponsor of that endeavor, and is that how you guys collided together, or how did this Buff and Shine thing happen?
And I'm going to get right into that, but let me just cover one other thing too: IDA. I was in the IDA too before I even went to train with Rennie, and that helped a lot as well. A lot of value got brought to the table. With becoming a certified detailer, being part of the first group to help.
We can take selfies as we're recording.
With the skills validation, and now, of course, recognized trainer and board member. A lot of that all came in, to the whole big picture of all of that. With building those credentials, my name, my brand started echoing.
Got it.
And with that echo is where Buff and Shine started hearing. And they saw the value in bringing a detailer in to help represent their brand.
Kind of makes sense.
Test the brands, represent the brand, and use somebody whose name is growing to help reach back out to the detail community to bring their brand back to the detailers.
Yes, because they're predominantly. So, what is their current state of affairs with their market? And then what they're. Jeez, I'm real professional here with this.
Well, they're saying I know what you're getting at. Basically, what you're asking is they're distributing and manufacturing.
Got it. Yes.
And with a lot of these internet-based distributors, that's what I think their focus is on.
Okay.
And that,
yes. How's their focus changing by bringing you in? I guess
their focus is changing because now we're able to go into the professional market.
Got it.
And get a lot more feedback from the end users, but also get a lot more credentials from the professional market, other than just being on a website with ads being sold.
Got it.
So basically, what Mike Phillips is for AutoGeek is what we're trying to make me for Buff and Shine.
Okay. So they're trying to reach into that detailer's market, and using you as the gateway to show the value of
the quality of their pads.
Market.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah, and the quality's there.
Yeah,
it's absolutely there.
So let's talk about. I mean, obviously we had Richard on the show, and so we got a good history about how the company started, and we talked a lot about the new Euro blended microfiber pads. That's the right name, right?
Yes, it's Eurofiber.
Eurofiber. Yep. Okay. The Oreo cookie pad. So that's
cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
There we go.
Hey, I'm not going to argue.
Now I know it's bad.
Oreos or cookies and cream. Either way, I'm good. In fact, Julio's getting us some Oreos as we speak. But now I totally lost my train of thought. But talk about the quality of the pads, maybe the pads that you like the most, what you're doing with the pads, and the future of where they're trying to take the pads as it regards to detailers, helping detailers out and all that.
Gotcha. Well, with Buff and Shine and Rich is Buff and Shine. He started the business from scratch. He started making the pads, and the thing with Rich is that he goes and inspects all the foam himself on a technical level of what he knows the numbers should be mathematically for the foam to get the best quality, as to where other companies are, third-party kind of sales and buying it, and they're not doing the inspection, they're cutting corners. He's not doing that. He's not worried about cutting costs. He's looking for quality. Same thing with adhesive. He has the best adhesive for that hook and loop backing that attaches, so there's no delamination problems.
Right.
Now, can there still be? Absolutely. If the end user's not using it properly, then you can mess up anything.
Right.
But as far as quality of the foam being inspected and it being manufactured and made here in the U.S., out of Cali, out of the U.S.-based place.
Made in Compton.
Yes.
Ooh.
Well, on the outer skirt.
Straight out of Compton.
Now, I do know that Jimbo proposed going through a tandem bicycle ride through Compton wearing half shirts with the podcast symbol on the back. But I don't think that was going to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that was going to go over well.
Make it out in one piece.
No.
It's smart because on the website it actually says, what is the city that they say? Rancho Dominguez.
Yes.
But yes, Rancho Dominguez. But when I put it in my maps and it said Compton, I text Julio and I said, dude, do I drive the beater or do I drive my nice car? I mean, come on, guys. You didn't warn me about this, man. So
yeah, the quality is there. You know, it's just a matter of reaching out to the detailers and letting them know that, you know, yes, there are other brands out there. And, you know, I respect all the brands. I'm very open-minded. Definitely. Everybody makes a good quality product. And, of course, on the other side of that, there's people that just try to make stuff to make a dollar.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're trying to steer these guys away from, to make sure that they're getting something good in their hands. And, again, that's where a lot of, like, the new Euro Tech and Euro cell phone comes into play, because now we're dialing in.
Talk about sorry to interrupt, but
That's
talk
okay.
about what is the Euro phone and why is it so good?
It's the durability and quality behind it.
Okay.
You know, it is a European-based phone for the most part.
Got it.
So,
as opposed to what?
As opposed to, I mean, I know,
like an American phone or a Chinese phone?
Correct.
A Japanese phone?
Correct.
Taiwanese phone? I mean,
correct.
I don't know.
The source and quality of the phone is a much greater value.
Got it.
And with that, you know, with, again, diving into the Euro Tech and the Euro Cell, you know, a lot of these manufacturers and tool manufacturers are making tools now that we have to catch up as pad makers to fit, so that we're not destroying the pads based on how the function of the machine is.
Got it.
So with that, they've dialed in exactly a pad that go with the machine. So your Euro Cell is going to go with your standard DA, your force DA, even your rotary. You know, it's a closed cell, so it's going to keep the product on the surface. It's actually going to bring the potential of your existing product out that you may have never even seen before. Because the absorption rate on the previous pads that you may have been
It's not
using.
soaking all into the back of the pad.
Exactly. Exactly. And they made it simple for that one. They only did 3 pad lineup, you know. That way you can just go to it. You know, and I hear a lot of people too here at SEMA. Some of them are complaining about colors of pads and things of that nature. Listen, everybody's different. That's just what it's going to be. You know, the colors are always going to be different. Just, you know, pick a pad line, something that is a fit for you, that gets you the results, and roll with it, you know. But other than that, the Euro Tech, on the other hand, that's all open cell. That's made for your long-throw machines. So, you know, they're able to take a bit more of a beating on that long stroke for your 15 mil and your 21 mil. And those can still be used with standard DA as well, obviously. Those with the open cell on that one, you know, you get a lot more product disbursement for a more even and consistent finish as well, with your favorite preference of polishes. And the cool thing they did here that they launched at SEMA is, now that we've got you know, that lineup, we've got in the Eurotech line now, we've got a 3, a 2, and a 1 inch to follow up with those. And that's always the biggest thing. As a professional detailer, when you get into that micro polishing or whatever you may want to call it, you know, you're able to start with a certain pad that you start with, whether it's a 5 or 6, and then you go right down the line. Instead of having to scramble to find something to match the finish, you got the pad right there and it's good to go.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Priest, or are you busy social media? If you're busy.
It's like one of the few moments we
sat down.
That's okay. I'll touch on something.
Well, keep talking, please.
You know, a lot of the credentials that I built were obviously for self-value, of getting my name more value, but a lot of it also was to show people in the detail community that there's opportunities there. And if you really strive for it, you can make whatever you want happen. You know, I've been in this national scene and industry now since only 2014. January 2014 was my first show I went to. We're just now finishing up 16. So technically that's, you know, 3 years, 3 full calendar years. And what I've done now, I mean, we didn't meet till this year, but now I'm sure, I mean, from what, I don't know, what have you heard?
Well, you're going to blow up after this show.
And the thing about that, though, it's not for the value of me, it's just to show other detailers there's value there. And that's where a lot of times, where like the IDA aspect, that comes into play, because that's, again, building up the community, showing that there's value there for us as a craft, not just a hobby, not just us taking a stab at something to see if we can make a great business opportunity out of it. actually getting recognized for what we do for a living and being respected at what we do, just like a plumber, just like an electrician.
Right.
You know, and when we have those certificates on the wall, they could value the idea that they don't have to think twice about the work that's
So
going to be
do you
done.
see your customers, and I want to like have an overlying theme of focus on Buff and Shine for this interview, but I do have some outlying issues. Do you think, not issues, questions. Do you think having those plaques on the wall has made your the plaques alone, do you think they've like said something to your customers or helped you gain more business because of that? Like, have you used that as a differentiator from, you talked about how saturated the mobile market is in your area, but do you think having those certificates and all that has helped?
Absolutely.
Does it enhance the credibility?
Absolutely. I had a
I know
gentleman
it doesn't
come in.
diminish it, but it
Right.
would certainly
Yeah.
enhance.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt, but
I had a gentleman come in 2010 who was going next door. I'm attached to a car audio and window tip business, like I mentioned.
Right.
And he was waiting on them to open, and he's looking around my shop, and he says to me, he goes, "So what makes you different?" I had nothing to say to that. Absolutely, I couldn't say. What was I going to say? Was I going to BS him? So I was kind of stuck, and then it made me think. And ever since then, I was like, I will be.
Why am I different? You kind of
Why
ask
am I
you
different? I'll be damned if I get that
and-
question again. Now,
Right.
do you want the short list or do you want the long list?
Right,
Right.
yeah. How much time you got?
And if anything, having those plaques on the wall, yes, and certificates, yes, because if at minimum it will intrigue somebody. And yes, I have them on the wall. The other guy doesn't. I've moved forward with investing my time, my money
Right.
into promoting education and knowledge in what we do and how we do it to make it better. So the in-person getting that service can have that confidence that they know that they're going to get quality work versus hack work.
right.
Or me taking a test spot because I really haven't polished off it, but let me go and try this on your hood for the first time.
Right.
Because you're here.
Right.
You know, and then you screw something up because you don't have somebody over your shoulder saying, that's not how you do it.
Right.
Or do it this way or try it that way. So that's where I believe the value really comes into play. And, you know, at the end of the day with the certificates, you know, I believe that, you know, if you work them, they will work for you. You know, and yeah, you find yourself repeating yourself, but think of it like this. A comedian, they go to different cities, different states, and they do the same act over and over again to a different audience. And that same audience fills that auditorium every time. So that's what it is with a new customer.
That's
It's
what I
a
tell my
different
wife.
audience each time you have a new
She
customer.
gets over my jokes, and I tell her it's because you're the same audience.
Right.
Yes.
You know, I gotta change my audience.
Yeah. And you got to evolve. You know,
Yeah.
with the craft of detailing, it's one thing. You're going to get good. And once you get good, then it's about consistency of that. That only thing evolves out of the craft is the new tools, the new products. We adapt to that. That's easy for us because we get well seasoned.
Right.
What really evolves is the business side. That's what is
Yes.
always changing.
Yep.
And if you could adapt to the evolution of that and you actually make it an evolution for yourself, then I believe that's where your success will come.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of follow that thought stream, which is more of kind of part of my personal channel, which is the intangibles, you know, because you talk about becoming a craftsman and you are continually developing that, but you can plateau.
Yeah.
But what I feel that you should not plateau in ever is the development of self.
Correct.
And because really that's what I would call, what you say, it's like, okay, why are you different? Johnny customer comes to you and says, why are you different? They're like, well, do you want the short list or you want the long list? It's like, well, let's just use a metaphor where you are your own stock. You are you, the company of you. Why would Johnny customer want to invest in you? It's, well, because I'm continually striving to become a better me.
Yes.
Self-development.
Yes.
Because of that relationship, I want long-term. I look at everything as an equity position, not as a renter mentality.
Correct.
So I'm going to continue to develop me, whether it's communication skills, my skill set as I respond to the industry that develops new tools, new products, new paint finishes, new interior materials, whatever. So it's constantly, to me, a big part of that is just accepting that my best today will be different than tomorrow. And I hope that tomorrow I will be a little bit better than I was today. And that's my unique value proposition, or in essence, kind of what you were saying, which is, hey, you know, you get to a point, but there's also this side that should never stop, and you keep developing that part. You know, the business side, how you deal with your customers, who you are as an individual, because it really is, to me in ways, a relationship business, like everything else. It's like, okay, you can polish a car, that's cool, you know, and that's significant. You obviously need to have a certain skill set.
And the growth of that too, another thing I see is where people are yes, promoting their brand, but there's a time where you're, you know, for example, my business, JL Showroom Detailing, I thought that promoting that name, introducing myself as that name, was where it was at, as that brand. That's great, everything at home demographically.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my brand is Justin Labato.
Exactly.
Once I transitioned into that mindset of realizing that that's what my brand is, that's when things changed.
Exactly. You, the brand of you.
Do you have JustinLabato.com then?
Not yet, but
you better get that.
Yes.
But
before I do.
I got the hashtag reflection artist, and I'm going to capitalize on that.
Oh, cool. Good for you.
Nice. And so I could see, it's cool that I could see how you and Buff and Shine can align, and they're trying to constantly evolve their brand, transition, pivot, all that, to stay relevant and to build their name. And me and Rich even talked about that with the new Eurotech cookies and cream pad. Is that, you know, because I asked him Eurofiber, all these names.
I know. Are you
what
kidding?
I say, Eurotech?
Yes, I think
so.
you did.
Whatever, Eurofiber, not whatever. But you know, he said they may position that as kind of to help promote the Buff and Shine brand versus putting other labels on it.
And we hit a home run with that one, you know.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great pad.
It's a great pad. I mean, a lot of us have tested it. And here's the thing I love about it, and just to kind of give the breakdown, not to reiterate obviously what Richard said, but from my point of view, you know, with that pad, you know, they did a lot of things different than what most people see in the market for traditional microfiber pads. You know, they wanted to make something for the long throw machines, so they got, you know, it's a thinner pad. They've got
thinnest foam Buff and Shine's ever produced.
Absolutely, and the blend, the top side, you know, it's black, it's white, but there's a purpose for that. It's not cosmetic.
Right.
It's a different blend for the black, a different type for the white, and then when they shorten that,
the fibers themselves are unique based on the color of the fiber.
Yes, and then with shortening it, it doesn't clog up as quick, you know, and you get better turnaround time on work, and on top of that, the actual foam inside is the most durable foam that they have that they use, and it's open cell, so it dissipates.
The glue, right?
Well, the glue, all in all, every glue or every pad that they put glue on is the most durable glue in the market. They have that. That's one of their things that they are, and that they could back up all day long. You know, and again, if it's delaminating, you got to look sometimes at the end user and how they're actually putting that thing. Use how bad they're beating it up.
Right.
You know, so and a lot of times that's just being educated properly, you know. If you want to refuse to go to training, well, you're going to end up throwing a lot of pads out.
Yeah, true. Good point.
But you know, overall, that pad has just hit the mark on being able to be, you know, of course, directed for the long throw, but for the most part, it can be used on your DAs, your forced DA. I mean, just
have you put it on a rotary?
I have not put it on a rotary.
Yet
I'm not really a big fan of putting a microfiber pad on a rotary. You know, I feel if you're going to use the rotary, you might as well go right into whatever purpose it is for that heavy defect removal, and just go right in and get it done, and then move on with your other steps. But no, just the other day we were over at the Flex booth, and we had a Porsche that was sanded down with 1,500 grit sand. And
is that Rennie's that's in there, or a different one?
No, that was over where Rennie was doing it, and we did a live feed on Facebook that we have posted, and we pulled the 1,500 sanding marks with the 3401 in that pad. And then we took the new XFE that has the 5-inch backing plate on it now, and applied that same pad into the side-by-side, and it pulled it right out.
Oh, wow.
And the finish was beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, of course, with that, it was aggressive compound, so we do definitely have to come back and get the light marring from the compound as a second step.
Right.
But if it was a compound that had the ability of finishing out properly or nicely, it would have been a one step. And for that, to do that with that pad, and it's not unlike other pads where there's a dedicated cut fiber and a dedicated finish fiber, two separate pads. This is one pad. It does both. So it takes the potential of whatever products you want to use, and it just brings it to that level on whatever you're trying to do for it, the end result. And then we did.
So you could use a whole host of different liquids for that pad.
So and then you have your 6, you have your 5, so whatever your preference is, and then you got your 3, 2, and 1 on those. So now your source of being consistent is 100% there.
So maybe my never-ending quest for a one-step polish, I'm looking at it in the wrong sense. Maybe I need to be looking at just a single pad and adjust the liquid depending on the pad. And that's when we posted questions for Rich. Does it go by Rich or Richard? I never even asked.
Either or.
So,
but that's based on pad and product combination.
Exactly. And that's a lot of people ask, what product do you recommend? It's like,
here, as a professional, you have, this is another thing, going back to the color references to pads. You get these pads that on the back, one says compound, one says polish. I get that. It makes it simple for the end user. Well, as a professional, you're no longer in that end user realm of just being an entry-level guy. There's no, at that point,
you can tweak anything.
You can tweak anything.
You want.
It's the pad and product, and based on the variables of the paint too, whether it's hard or soft. At the end of the day, you get so well seasoned at what you do, you could almost become a paint whisperer.
Yes,
so where you're able to look and just read it, and just know, because you're so well seasoned at doing that so often, that it allows you to dial it in. I mean, you're taking your polish and putting it on a compound pad. People are like, oh my gosh, you're doing that. No, you're using the pad for its actual capabilities, for a reason of what you're trying to accomplish. And that's where you start tweaking it to what you make work to get the results you need. Now keeping it simple for labeling them for the end user, for the guys that are at entry level or just getting into it, yes, that helps. But they got to learn that there's no set way of doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of guys will kind of get stuck in that where they will just follow so rigidly. It's like, this is a compounding pad.
Yeah.
And they can't think outside of that moment. It's like, this is compound. Well, what compound can you use on this compounding pad? It's like, well, guess what? You could use really whatever you want. That's not the real question. The deeper question is what is your goal? How much experience do you have? Because you know that you can essentially pick and choose a variety of combinations and produce those results that you want. But that's where experience comes from. But I get it, as a beginner, you kind of get stuck. It's like, no, that's okay. This is my compounding pad. This is my finishing pad. And I need to pick a compound, and I need to pick a polish to finish with. And then I got to go from this speed setting to that speed setting. And they become very rigid in that, which, once again, I get it.
Yeah.
But then that's where I guess you kind of go from, a beginner to a novice to more advanced.
If they do go through training, say they do take it upon themselves to step in and go through a training. A lot of puppy mill training facilities now. You get guys that are trainers that don't even know themselves what they're doing, and now they're pushing this to this group of guys. Now these group of guys are like, oh, that's gospel.
Right.
That's how it should be, and they get stuck in that way because of that. And they're like, well, so and so told me it's like that, and it sucks because then you gotta reverse that. If it's reversible sometimes.
Which is tough, is unlearning the misinformation, the bad information that you've been, trained with.
And that's the best part about us as detailers getting together, the unity, the IDA, the things of that nature to help educate the
Auto
ones.
Detailing Podcast, the Auto Fetish YouTube channel.
Yes,
that was good, Jimbo.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Come on, Justin.
I wasn't throwing you under the bus. I apologize. But no, overall, I mean, that's the whole purpose of that. And that's another reason why, of course, again, why Buff and Shine brought me on.
Yeah.
So we could bring that to light and expose people to what, the proper ways of doing things.
Yeah.
There's sometimes no right way, no wrong way, but at the same time there is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So if you could kind of sum up your, not your career, because I know you're just at the very beginning of it, but if there's someone that's looking at getting into the industry, making that jump to full-time detailing, and they're looking to you and the way you've gone about stuff, and they want to mirror that, what is kind of a piece of advice you would give them?
In the easy, simple way, all ears, less mouth.
Okay.
What a novel approach.
Yeah.
See, I subscribe to that in life, period.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We've got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
How about if we just use them accordingly?
Correct.
But yet, very few of us have that capacity.
Yeah.
So say that one more time.
I said all ears, less mouth.
Yeah. It's so true, and become a sponge.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And absorb.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day,
even when you think you know it all, you still don't know enough.
You
And
don't.
that's one thing. I've been blessed with great mentors. I've been blessed with a lot of well-seasoned guys in this industry that I've been able to bless mouth all years.
Yes.
And with that, it's allowed me to hit a slingshot effect in the market, to say. And that's what's helped me a lot. And I think taking that value and running with it, eventually the customers will come, the money will follow behind that, and at the same time too, don't chase the dollar. Make the relationship, and then with the relationship, the money will follow.
Be in it for the long
exactly.
haul.
And another big thing that I would say too is with where we're at right now, we're in a sweet spot. This past 6 years in this detail industry has gone through so many changes with products, detailers.
It is hard to keep up.
All the above. What I would say is, for a detailer, whether they're well seasoned or getting into it, look at your mobile unit, look around your shop. If you have a product banner in your shop that's bigger than your own brand name, then there's a problem.
Yes.
Look around your shop, look at your van. If you have a product and they're not paying you, or you're not affiliated in some way with them that's supporting you, take it down or make your logo and your brand bigger, because that's what's going to sell.
Interesting insight. It's good.
If people want to find you, Justin Labato, JL Showroom Shine, right? Showroom.
All these different showroom names out there. No, it is JL's Showroom Detailing Incorporated. And the website is showroomdetailinginc.com, and then as far as email, it would be justin@showroomdetailinginc.com. And Facebook, I have, of course, my business page, and then my business personal page is just Justin Labato, my brand.
JustinLabato.com. Got to get on there.
I don't know about the .com part. I'm still a little weird on that.
Yeah, you probably should grab it.
You probably should.
Honestly.
Are you gonna grab it? You can.
I'm not grabbing yours.
Whoa, what are we talking about?
Whoa, someone just grabbed something.
Turn your boxes around.
Okay, I'm gonna a little slide to the left. Now can you grab
Are you
the
touching my Eurofiber?
I believe I am.
All right.
The fact that you have to ask that would suggest that I'm not doing a very good job.
And then, Darren, how can people connect with you since you're here?
Pretty much Auto Fetish. I can be found any search for Auto Fetish. We don't need to run down the gamut of all the different. But in response to yours, it's like, yes, grab that URL.
Yeah, do it.
I
Just
own,
to have it.
Actually, Darren Priest, I think, was taken. Yeah, I know, believe it or not. And that was years ago.
Because you never know when you're going to want to use it.
Yeah, you just don't know. So I own about 30 URLs.
Yeah, that's easy. Go on GoDaddy, buy them up for
you don't have to host it or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it, though. That $2 or $3, I mean, that's hard. I wash cars, and that's all I do for a living. I can't, washing $5 car washes, that's hard. It's rough out here, I don't know what to do with myself. No, but at the end of the day, with the credentials, with the training, with Buff and Shine, as a professional detailer, you can make the $150 an hour mark, and that's why those certificates are up there.
It is achievable. It absolutely, and I think that's where you kind of address that you've been fortunate in having really good mentors.
Yes,
and that is key. But to give you credit, and this is not by any means to blow sunshine up your ass, because pretty much anyone that knows me knows that I don't really do that very well.
I'm more like a My Little Pony other than Sunshine, but we'll let you go.
Yeah, My Little Pony. I don't know. Actually, I think I may. Anyhow.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com for full show notes and links of everything that we've talked about today. And don't forget to check out our resources page for a direct link to all the products talked about not only on today's episode, but that I use in my day-to-day detail business. They have direct links so you can purchase and get free shipping right from that page. That's autodetailingpodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.